Alrighty, this is One Bad Van, or Matt Lindsay, creating a tutorial for how to use MPTune. Talking with VXVX Andrew XVXV as his forum name. He said he wanted a tutorial kind of on the basics of setting things up, and I figure other newbies would need it too. I'm by no means a professional, but I could get the basic things set up for you guys. Here I'm in MPTune. I've already downloaded the templates from online. I'm gonna open up SMEC template, 2.2 manual transmission stock template, and then I'm also going to open up a logic module template to show the differences. It's the same thing, a 2.2 manual transmission stock. Make that big here. So here this is the spec, and this one is the logic module. You see the logic module has the items more expanded, where the spec has been condensed. Still has the same amount of things, but they're just grouped into categories, which is a little nicer for doing calibrations, because when you're focusing on a specific area that you're adjusting, it makes it faster that way. But I'm going to focus on the LM because that's what Andrew has, and then a lot of people seem to be using both, and overall they're going to be the same. First thing you do is you go over here to the scaling. If you have stock injectors, you don't need to do this, but you go to the size, and then it's automatically set up for stock injectors. But let's say you have the plus 40s, which are 52 pounds. You just click that and it automatically scales everything that needs to be for the injectors. Let's say we also have a 3-bar map. So you go same place, scaling, but map, and then the pressure, and you choose a 3-bar map. Okay, I like to keep the factory or the base name of the cal. I like to keep that the stock unmolested one. So I'm going to go into calibration save as and change it to the LM 40s 3-bar, and since I have multiple cars, I'll do it for the Lancer 800 that my dad has, so that way I could have the modified one, and if I ever need to refer to the stock one again, I could go back to the stock one. I also like making sometimes a stock one that all I've done is change the scaling, so then after I tweak stuff I could tweak it back to the stock scaled numbers. But anyways, I think the best way to start learning is to go through and kind of look at everything. I like using the arrow keys on the keyboard to operate this menu, open and close these things. For most people starting tuning, all you really are worried about is your fuel, is the first thing, because that's the most important to get right, and then also then you go down to your spark setup. But we're going to start in the fuel section. Like has been said on other things you may have read, you always want to start out with your wastegate set directly to manifold pressure, so you're running minimum boost, or some people even disconnect the wastegate entirely, so they get even less than the usual 5 to 7 psi the wastegate actuator allows. So we're going to go into fuel modifiers is the first one. So the first one they recommend looking at is this pumping efficiency from RPM. You got the RPM across the bottom and the pumping efficiency in a percentage across the y-axis, and then over here we have the actual numbers that it creates, which is the dot. So this is dot 1 and this is dot 5 equaled here, so you could see what the actual numbers are, and what RPM exactly those are at. So what you do to tune this curve is your goal is to be whatever your goal of air fuel ratios are. You will go on a run, and let's say you're lean around 4,600 RPM. You're gonna move this up to say your engine actually flows more air than this, and so you move this dot up by clicking on it and dragging it, or you could click on it and use the arrows to move it around to increase it. You don't want to move it a lot, especially this pumping efficiency table. 1 or 2 clicks will make a significant difference on the wideband when you're doing that. Let's say you move stuff around and you didn't like it. As long as you haven't saved it yet, you could go back and reset the table to go back to where it was. Some people like to set up their fueling a little differently at first. What you can do is you go to the fuel running. Let's go into settings here, and then AFR settings. We're gonna see AFR settings. So this here is showing what the guide table is gonna show. So let's turn on the guide table. Let's see, we have to turn, let's see, full throttle, fuel, full throttle. This yellow bar is the fuel indicator, and it's also indicated up here in this corner. So as you move around, it will change this number, but as we have in this back here in the scaling one, it's all set to 14.7. So what I will do is full throttle. This PSI is actually off. 0 is actually vacuum. Up to about 14 or 15 is when you actually start to go into boost. So I'm just going to start there at 14, and I set mine up for 11.5. And so you just have to copy that all the way down. I don't know what that error was, but obviously it went away. So I'm copying those down. And for the sake of this video, I'm going to stop at 30 because that's about 15 psi. So I just hit the save, and you see how that changed the yellow curve over here. So for now, I'm going to take that out. This is just dragging down because I didn't finish carrying that out through that graph, but you could go through and do that. As you see, it's pretty close in the stock form, especially, and it starts getting a little richer up here after 8 psi, which is the factory being safe, which isn't a bad thing to start out at. So some guys will set this curve to the 11 and then they'll go through and match it. So they'll match this curve like such. You know, I think where it was first was the closest. You could even change this one so you're matching that line up a little better along here. As you see, I changed tables, but see how this one stays bold? That is staying bold because it's a table you have modified but you haven't saved yet. So if I go back here and I click save, it'll give me that said it's saved, but you see how the bold text also went away. So we've set that line up, we've matched the data point curve up to that, and now we're gonna go do our test run. You do the test run in your car either using a wideband and just watching the gauge, or a data logger that you could get a curve mapped from RPM versus air fuel ratio, which would be the best thing because then you know exactly where to change it. And then you go back into this pumping efficiency table, which we talked about before. This is what you modify. Like I said again, if you have a lean point right here at 4,000 RPM, you can move it up, or if it's rich, you move it down to adjust for that. I'll just stop this recording at that point, and if you have any questions, let me know.